So I'm going to talk about three things. Firstly, what do we mean when we say road width? Secondly, what are and second part will be far more interactive with all of y'all. We can get into a little bit more detail of your specific problems and try and think of what your next steps would be with regards to problems and scams regarding roads. And then I have some very broad suggestions on what like a standard operating procedure for all of us, because initially when I was speaking to 2-3 people, I thought that there were very few tactics that they were using, but now after hearing some of y'all, the tactics have also got more confusing, more approaches that they are using. So maybe all of these may not work, but we can brainstorm and collaborate and try to think of additional ways forward. To start with, this is a road in Panjim, just outside over here, MG. This is the near MG road only. What do you call the road width? Is it just the tarred portion, or is it including the sidewalks, including the parking, including all of this? Because in planning terminology, there is no such thing as road width. Very interestingly, when you open those Goa land development and building construction regulations and you read the definitions, road width is actually not in those. Always section 2 of every act defines the very important terms. Within section 2 of the Goa land development building construction regulations, they have not defined road width. But if you dig deeper into the in the appendixes of that same regulations, they have defined road width as right of. This is the only connotation that I have found wherein they call it a right of way. Now let's go back to our picture.
This is which appendix
Of the GLD BCR table 10 in the
appendix?
I'll pull it. I'll tell you after this, yeah. But it's one of the appendices. But I thought this was first of all just shabby drafting of a law to not put important facets like what do you mean by road width, because road width is not a technical term. The technical terms are two. We have something called a carriageway and we have something called a right of way. Okay, right of way basically means from the plot line, including the sidewalk, drain. What we call the carriageway is the motorable portion of the road. Munun, what has been tarred and what vehicles can move on. Then the parking, comes the gutter, comes the sidewalk. All of these collectively become the right of way. So this is the first thing that we have to keep in mind, is when the government starts to call a road a 6-meter road in the ODP, in the RP, they mean a 6-meter right of way, which correlates to a 3.5-meter wide carriageway. So when somebody is saying he has a 6-meter road, we are already on the back foot, because we are actually dealing with a motorable portion, a portion that the cars can move on, that is at maximum 3.5 meters, a minimum 3.5 meters. If it's more than that, unfortunately, he can sit there and call it a 6-meter road as a planner. So this is one thing that we have to consider. When he says an 8-meter road, it's actually only 4.5 meters of carriageway. 10-meter road, 7 meters of carriageway. And one thing that they're supposed to provide is, for a 6-meter road, they're supposed to provide a 1-meter sidewalk on either side. I live on MDR 2, which is the road from Pilar to Old Goa. That road is a 25-meter right of way. It has no sidewalk. Its carriageway is 6 meters. So that's a whole different thing. They need to at least impose a 3.5-meter pavement on both sides of that road. But if they do that, they'll demolish God knows how many people's houses. And so they won't get around to doing it. But my point over here being that when you see a 6-meter road in the plan, I can share this with you. You have to be very careful. You cannot measure the carriageway and say this is not 6 meters. The court will throw it out, because the government will immediately produce table 10 and say no. When we refer to a 6-meter road, we actually only need 3.5 meters of carriageway. So this is one of the concerns that we have. Then then what Mahesh said very clearly. Yeah.
So if in a row, what are the right of, you said
The gutter, the pavement, on the side parking space if any is needed.
all of them are missing.
then the problem is that, to the best of my knowledge, the government can show them as proposed, even if they go through private property, even if the government has not acquired that property. The government can still show a dotted line through someone's private property, and PWD have maps of this. I have seen for my own village of Neora, I have seen that the PWD has maps going deep into everyone's private property saying proposed sidewalk and a small note at the bottom, land to be acquired. So the government has done its homework in this way. Now, my personal feeling is that they will never acquire the land. But on paper, they show that, the road could eventually, we have contingencies in place. We are treating that, we've set aside 8 meters for the road, let's say. And as and when the government directs us to, we will implement the further provisions of the road.
But can the building plans be approved? That is not done, right?
So that is, I'm getting there. The other point that we have is that in 2023, or let's start a little before, in 2009, when draft regional plan for Goa came out, like Mahesh said very clearly, they had set certain minimums for what width of road can fit what type of construction. At that time, they had said if I remember, 9 meters, right? Yeah.
I have that document. It is 15 meters for high-rise buildings.
15 meters for a high-rise building means it has to be more than G+4. So let's say a G+5 building, 15 meters, of course. And what is one nice thing about regional plan is they don't use a term like road width, they use the word right of way. So 15 meter right of way means around, I think, a 9 meter road, which is 3 lanes. Yeah. This would be a 15 meter RW. Between the draft RP to the final RP, they inserted this silly law that I don't like called the Goa Land Development and Building Construction Regulations. And I argue they did this to confuse what's happening in the regional plan. And within this, they said, okay, no need for 15 meter right of way, 9 meter right of way. Now we know road width means 9 right of way, which is a 6 meter road for, again, a G+5 project. This also, at least every major project has 2 clear lanes for vehicles to move, right? One going this way, one coming this way. What really messes things up is in 2023, August. And I know many of y'all also filed objections to this. Do you all remember that there was this big tamasha about building amendments? And the government of Goa came and said, we are bringing in some amendments to the Goa building regulations, which will make our buildings more energy efficient and bring them up to modern day standards. And local real estate, what's it called, the Goa Association of Realtors and CREDA, Confederation of Real Estate Developers of India, both came out and spoke and said, like, these are very good, we will be building more sustainable buildings. There were a total of 18 amendments. Only 5 pertained to actual building construction. The others started to get into stuff like this, which should not be part of constructing safer buildings or more sustainable buildings. These are parts that come from public concerns pertaining to access, traffic. They're not building regulations, but under the name of building regulations, the government shoved in this new thing that I've put up over here. And unfortunately, even though there were more than 2,000 objections filed, the government appointed a committee of experts which took the wise decision that the objections were not making sense. This made sense from their expert opinion, and now a road right of way of 6 meters can service, and it's no longer a high-rise project as the older regulation said. They've now put it by dwelling units. So a construction of 180 units will now be allowed if there is a 6 meters right of way. 6 meters right of way means 3.5 meters carriageway. And this is what I call the death nail to Goa. The other point that they've made down here is that the project proponent shall leave the road widening area as prescribed in the regional plan and other roads not less than 6 meters. So the one point we have from this is fine, 3 meters carriageway, but they have to leave 6 meters when constructing. But who's to say they don't put trees within those 6 meters or something? They can't build a compound wall for 6 meters. But one of the other problems that we have and that we're starting to see with this new amendment being implemented is this. Let's take a village, okay? You know how our village roads are. They're not wide, they're not straight, they always snake through because konalo ghar asa hanga, and they have built a compound like this, and then someone else has their house also with a compound like this, and similarly over here there is someone's house, maybe no compound wall. Here there's another person's house, here there's another person's house. Okay, and let's just say that this is the road, and now this is an open property, large property over here, greenfields property, which a builder has come to construct in. Now he's gone to TCP. He will say, "Arey, we have a 3.5 meter road which equals to 6 meters. I want to put a mega project of 150 houses on this property here." So long as he leaves from here to here 6 meters, even if this is less than 6 meters, even if this is just 3.5 meters, so long as he leaves 6 meters along the road where it touches his property, and he can build his building over here like this, so long as he just leaves this portion, he can still build it. Because the TCP department is not really looking at what the ground reality is elsewhere. And I'll explain why also and how this scenario has come up. But this puts a big problem because fine, he'll leave 6 meters where it's touching his plot, but as soon as his 150 people come out to drop their children to school in the morning or to go to work at 9:30 a.m., they have to come to this narrow 3.5 meter road, which causes no end of trouble. So 3 main points from the 2023 building amendments. I call them the unscientific reduction of the minimum widths. The second point, which I'll get to, is the removal of the mandatory site inspection. And then the third, as Praveen's case is the ease that you now have to add and remove roads using these amendments of 39A and 17.2, which did not exist in the past. Earlier, you could only change a road when the RP came up, or if you were lucky and live in an urban area, ODPs happen more often. Through the ODP, you could file an application and adjust the width of your road. But now under 17.2 and 39A, you can go at any day to the department and move a file, and if you know the right people or have the right influence, it immediately you can immediately get a change. Yeah.
Is there objections to that? Those changes?
There is a committee appointed by the government which can overrule your objections if they see fit, as per the.
In case where that proposed road has been taken over, you could today go and get it deleted under the design.
Yes, under 39A, you're in an ODP area, he could move a 39A application. Of course, it would come in the Gazette. You could file an objection, but this file will go up to, I think, 39A's Town Planning Board, and Town Planning Board can just say no. Gaurav's objection has no merit to it. We believe that the applicant is right. You have no appeal except to go to court, unfortunately. So,
And I hit one more thing. In this case which you're talking about, there was that 16A something where it said that the 6-meter road has to be available.
I'll get there. That has also changed in the 2023 amendments. So,
Just go back. Before that, what was the role of the panchayat?
the panchayat.
23 amendment for road
The panchayat always has a role. You see, under the 73rd Amendment, the panchayat has the power to give construction permissions. And the panchayat has the and it is also highly recommended. I don't know if it's a law or a policy of the government that if the panchayat in its weekly meeting takes a decision to grant a development permission, the ward pancha of that area has to sit in the meeting. The logic being that the ward pancha could say, no, having this project here would cause a grievance to my people, to my voters in my ward. It would cause traffic problems to them, etc. Now, what is happening today in Goa is that panchayats are blindly issuing permission on the basis of the TCP technical clearance. One thing that we have to understand in the construction process in Goa is that you have two agencies. The TCP, or in urban area the PDA, will not give you permission. It gives you what's called a technical clearance. Think of this as an NOC. It means that the so-called expert town planner has studied originally would have had to study the ground reality, recently has studied at least the map, the ODP or the RP or the facts, and has applied his brain of understanding what accessibility and what harms the project would cause, and has then said, no, this project will not be a major problem. In my opinion, I clear it. So think of the technical clearance as an NOC. Who gives what's called the construction license is the panchayat. The construction license is your permission to build, not your technical clearance. You can't build on the basis of a technical clearance. You can only build on the basis of a construction license. Now, I'm not an expert on Panchayati Raj Act, but what's happening in Goa today, as many of you all know, is even if the panchayat stops the technical clearance, there is a provision to appeal it. And the builders can go to the director of panchayats and for BDO and challenge the panchayat not issuing them the construction license, and the BDO can then overrule the panchayat and force the panchayat to issue a construction license.
There is a slight addition in that. Panchayat is also not acting smartly. See, there is a provision that they have to reply. They have to reply to the applicant within 30 days of the application. What Panchayat is doing, they are keeping the file with them. If some objection is there, they will keep the file with them. They are not replying to the applicant. In that case, what the applicant gets an opportunity, they straight away go to BDO and say that my 30 days mandatory period has been lapsed. Now I am due for default permission. So in that case, secretary has to by default give him the permission. That is detrimental on panchayat's behalf. What if some objection is there? Now objection cannot be some of my punch members are not comfortable with this project or they don't like this project. That cannot be a ground. You should be giving them some genuine grounds like the road at the site is inadequate and TCP has misrepresented or misconsidered the fact which the applicant has given. So we request the applicant to kindly go back to TCP and insist for a physical inspection of the site along with the panchayat. This has to be going back to the applicant in writing. That is not happening. They are sitting over the file.
I'll add one more point. 99% of panchayats are basically, the moment the application comes, the ward member and the sarpanch expect a certain amount of bribe. They hold the file for the bribe largely, not for any other reason. They don't care about the environment, they don't care about the roads, anything. 99% of them. That's the reason they're holding it, that's the reason they don't reply, because if they object to it, they know anyway they won't get anything. Because then it goes into a different legal process. So this is the reason they're holding it. And then, if you do overrule them, then they come all hammer and tongs at you by harassing you, by sending the inspections of health, filing, neighbors will start complaining against you. They'll complain to health and other departments to basically harass you and just wring your neck so that you eventually pay. By the way, we've done about 50 such applications for our clients, and we take on this corruption nonsense, and they can do nothing actually. They just flap around, but then they go away. So that's, long story short, that's the reason they're holding files.
Now, if you go to panchayat and if you ask them, why didn't you object to this? Why didn't you file your dissent on that? The simple answer is, and many of the punch, this is a standard operating procedure. I don't know from where they are taking these trainings and all. They say, if we don't allow, they'll go to BDO and they'll get the permission. Now, that is the standard answer if you go and ask to the panchayat, punch member or sarpanch for that matter. Now, to which... Correct. So, once the TCP has been granted, we can't do much, and if we don't grant them the permission, the construction license, they'll go to BDO and they'll take the permission. That's what they say. That's what they claim. Now, to that the counter is, it is not like how Gaurav said. It is not entirely only the file which comes to them. The other packets also come along with the file. The question is about the packets. If you are not approving, that packets goes to higher up. So the question is, who receives that packet? The receiver of the packet has to give them the permission, and that is the reason there is a race, always a race, who gives that permission. The best strategy against this is panchayat punch member has to file a dissent, return their file saying that this is not the fact at site, we have verified from our end, and you are requested to go back to TCP and get a clarification on this query which we have raised. Now what is happening, panchayat and villagers has to go to court asking the court to tell TCP to come to site. And what TCP says, there is no instruction or guidelines for us or a law for us, once a technical clearance order is granted, that they are supposed to have a joint inspection with a panchayat. This is the stand what they are taking.
And I mean, basically on paper, this system is set up in such a way that you would ideally have two inspections by two bodies who both, the TCP is supposed to do their first inspection having some knowledge from the planning point of view, and then the panchayat is supposed to do a second inspection before granting construction license having knowledge from the community point of view. Because when we talk about planning, we always talk about it from two, like, simplest definition of town planning is community and economic development. So the community part comes from the people who live there. The panchayat should know, you don't have to be a technical person to know if a certain project has a negative impact on neighbors and on other people who live in your area. Anybody can see that a project of 150 houses on a road which does not accommodate two cars moving smoothly will have a negative impact on the other people who share that road. A road is a shared resource. So the panchayat body could very easily leave a dissent note and give grounds for denying the permission. What Swapnesh says is very true. They don't deny. They hold the permission. And a hold is not a response. So when it goes up for an appeal, it's a default judgment on the BDO to immediately say, no, you've not given a dissent. We've only heard one side. You are derelicting your duty, panchayat. the builder is entitled to his permission.
And technical clearance order,
At that point,
see, there is not much you can do against the elected representative, unfortunately, because by the time you get a decision, the second election must have been taken place and he no more remains a punch there. So there is not much what we can do against the elected representative, only the pressure, public pressure, questioning the each and every move. Now, second thing, the technical clearance order is not a blanket clearance, it's a conditional clearance. It's a conditional clearance to an extent that there are certain responsibility which has been shifted onto the panchayat by TCP themselves. One of the such examples is the traditional excesses. Traditional excesses, if any, panchayat has to take care and look into it prior to issuance of construction license. Similarly, the garbage is these things what will be created, construction debris, what will be created at the time of construction, that also has to be satisfactory to the panchayat. They have to demonstrate it where they will be throwing this off, disposing it. That panchayat has to look into. Now the most important aspect what the TCP had shifted onto panchayat is the availability of water, electricity and other infrastructure which is required for the project. Panchayat is not looking into that. In Shivolim, we are creating a case out of it and approach the court that panchayat is not looking into it. TCP has shifted that responsibility onto panchayat, and at the end of the day, this important aspect, that is water, electricity and other infrastructure, besides road. Road is the only technical aspect which TCP takes care of. That too, they don't do justice to their duties. That's a different thing. But on paper, road is the only infrastructure which TCP looks at while issuing technical clearance order, nothing else.
when we say availability,
In our favor, what they said is, when the Ganje project of 25 MLD
It's commissioned,
is
then
commissioned, then only we can use. That means you don't have
now
infrastructure.
first stage is that, see, panchayat, even if you, now panchayat is not looking at it. We have time, no, Tahir? See, panchayat right now is not looking at that aspect. Now, supposedly you raise a objection against this, you file a dissent against it, that you are not looking in the condition which has been imposed onto you by TCP, saying that you have to look into whether electricity and water is there available for the village, the residents of the village as of now who are staying there. Then only if there is adequacy of that, you issue some expansion projects and all. It's a purely technical and scientific way of planning actually. Panchayat right now is not looking at it. Supposedly panchayat starts looking at it. Now for making a decision by panchayat, what they need? They need data, no? Panchayat don't have that data as of now with them at their disposal. This data is with PWD. So either they have to call for that data or they have to get a NOC from PWD. If you remember, almost 20 years back, we used to prepare 5 files for panchayat construction license. One of the files used to go to electricity and PWD. That practice has been stopped. And everything is routed through TCP. Once TCP technical clearance order is granted, it comes to panchayat and panchayat does it. Earlier we used to submit 5 files directly to panchayat, and panchayat was supposed to take the NOC from all these departments. That is not happening now. Now with the revised procedure, cleverly the TCP department has shifted the responsibility onto the panchayat. Panchayat don't have their data. Neither they are calling for the NOC from the PWD, and construction license have been getting issued left, right and center.
This has become a formality only, no? See,
Exactly.
because in our village, the storage capacity is 150, what is the CM? cubic
MLD
meters per
maybe,
day.
yeah.
And there only one project's requirement is 495 CM cubic meters per day. 495, 3-4 times. And then the construction license is granted and they are telling conditional, and the file is being processed.
I'll tell you one NOC in South Goa, I think it was in Betalbatim or Betalbatim. They have, the project proponent has got a NOC from a PWD. The first paragraph of the NOC says that we don't have any objection for construction of this project. And the condition says we don't have water to provide to existing citizens there. Then what sort of NOC is this?
I've read a construction. I've
Yeah.
read a application from someone in Sankwal, okay? Again, mega project kind of thing. and they have given in their application to the panchayat, to the TCP, we will arrange tankers to supply water and we will install generator on site for electricity. So, the builders are also getting very smart now. They're like, okay, even if you block our file for non-availability of infrastructure, we'll put a clause there saying we will generate our own infrastructure on site. Now, let's look back again at roads. 3.5 meter road, this 150 people, most villages we've filed an RTI, we just got the data I think 2-3 days ago. Every village in Bardez is water short. And like a village like Kalangu needs at least 50 MLD more than what it currently receives. So there is a serious shortfall within the current water supply from Goa and the current water needs of villages. Now we need to file RTIs on other talukas and get this kind of information from elsewhere. But anyway, the logic being, okay, fine, even if a panchayat blocks it, you will get some oversmart builders who will say we will service the same through tankers, we will install a genset on site. Then again the panchayat can still object, and they can always object from the fact that tankers plying to service these along the 3.5 meter road will definitely impose undue harms, nuisance, traffic concerns on existing residents of the village. At the end of the day, the ward punch has to protect their vote bank, right? And their vote bank is the people, the neighbors of the project. So one of the things that theoretically can be done, it's been successful in very few cases, but is if all of the people around go and just catch hold of that one punch of the area and get that area punch to file a dissent note and give a dissent letter. Even if the overall panchayat body says we will approve this project, if that area punch gets a little scared if 50, 100 people come, because election turnouts are so low in panchayat elections that 50 votes can kick out a punch member. So
That's the biggest challenge, Kailash. Getting people
to come,
is the biggest challenge. One is because of fears, and the second is favor. So relying on your villagers to see your village is becoming a big issue today.
That's why we are where we are.
The main problem is people don't question their word members. He's doing something so they take it for granted. And he's doing it, it's going on. People don't question it. But they will be patient.
If I can reword this in one line, if I can just reword this entire scenario in one line, every process, procedure, whether it is simplification, amendments, etc., is all being done from every elected person being hand in glove with the officials to ensure the money flow becomes from a trickle to a massive waterfall. That's the only objective they have. And in this chain, they're all in it together. So, and what they also then do is repercussion, and anybody who raises their hand, they will come after you. I've seen enough cases. They'll target you. The only reverse is, we actually do it by the way, we target them. And in an organized, I run a commercial startup, so we have the resources and manpower to do it. But we actually target individuals in government and elected members. That's the only way we get through and push our way through. It's a reverse. But for citizens, they are doing what they know. They are all coming at you. That's why the fear.
So that's the reason if we have, a body that looks into the issue,
Yes, need to come
irrespective of
together.
which village, then they know they've got the support of this body, and then we'll back off if they're trying to, how much can Goa Foundation do and I really
And-
don't know.
yeah.
I think just at a centralized level is what you have to have groups in the village of those bodies. And it doesn't have to be single people. I think even in Cholip that's happening now, all these people are here. It started with a few people and it's expanded. There are more than 50 people there. Lots of people are coming now slowly. It was very difficult, but you guys will talk more. I read WhatsApp, but I know I went for 8 and 10 first March candle. And from there it has grown as a village saving rather than just this construction. So it has to be, because then they can't target, they'll target one people, they'll target
Yeah,
10 people.
correct.
But they can't target 50 and 100 people from different wards of the same village. No, that's what's happening here. You can't just have a centralized thing. It never will work. You have to have bottom up together.
Centralized team that has the expertise.
True. There has to be a coordination and line between the two.
I think you need to have both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let me explain to you. I mean, what you're talking is road meat, but it's gone beyond that.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll give you an example of what is happening in Asagaon today on one thing which is called a nightclub or bar and restaurant. Which is, NOC was given for a temporary construction and temporary license. Okay? No TCP clearance, no conversion, all that happened. It was a huge project itself because it was one of his, because of pressure from the people and the Gram Sabha and all, I think the Panchayat, the license of course was expiring one year, but
Yeah.
they also asked to revoke the NOC. So that means technically speaking,
It has no permission. It's
Yeah,
related.
so the building is illegal. So it was what and should have gone for demolition.
Yes.
They have now got permission from TCP, which is supposed to give only technical clearance to
Yes.
regularize the building,
Yes.
and they've given the building. And that is now taking place. Okay, now of course there is a resolution passed in the Gram Sabha that is the Panchayat is now, because of the pressure of the people, has said that they asked for a joint listing. TCP didn't come for a joint inspection. So it's gone to that level. So you see, the only question is that, and the thing that the level where you have passed a resolution in Gram Sabha, Panchayat has also said no to construction license. They're getting this in from the TCP.
But the TCP still can't give you permission to
Right, they want
construct.
So
Yeah.
they're challenging that. In the
Yes.
court. Now the question is that they might also TCP minister who promised to do
Of
everything,
course,
but on
yes.
that side is
Yeah.
put the money into. This is a huge project.
Yeah.
It's one of the soundproof type of thing.
Oh.
No construction license. Temporary license was given on a
And has been revoked, so the building has to come down.
No,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
So that's what they are pushing for. So now that
Power to give the license for temporary structure.
so now
Yes.
they're also taking.
Does it have the power?
It does. It has the power to allow temporary constructions for a period of 1 year time. But there are certain regulations, unfortunately, again, they are part of policy, not law, which say that there should be no concrete used. They should use only steel or wood or thatch materials. Like there are certain policies that the panchayat has. The one legal consideration on temporary license is temporary license has to be issued for 1 year's time.
1 year.
With the logic that after 1 year you take it off. This clause was brought in to help people who have cows, who want to put a shed up for the cows for the monsoon. You can renew it, but the panchayat has to inspect and check if it's truly temporary and then say yes, okay, fine, put it up again for the next monsoon to protect your cows or to keep your things dry in the rains. Mostly this temporary license permission from the panchayat came up to protect poor people's stuff from the rains. If it's being abused for soundproof commercial properties, then that's a
Anyway, that's
yeah.
I mean, Panchayat is taking the court, the people also taking the court. That's another. Well, let's get back to your 6
Yes.
meter road. Okay.
So
6 meter road. I just wanted to clarify.
Mm.
The 6 meter road. Because when the building is saying if it's near the site,
Mm.
they say some 40 meters or 60 meters or something. 75 meters. Okay. Now, the other question is that if you take from compound wall to compound wall, if there is no 6 meter, I mean, not at the, because at the building
Yeah.
site, they can.
Correct.
So
Ex-
I'm saying, what is the rule about that?
the rule about that is from
See, that-
compound wall to compound wall, as per TCP, 3.5 is
The
okay.
building is there and your
Yes,
is less here.
and here it's less. As per TCP, so long as this is minimum 3.5, it
But
is
compound
okay.
wall to compound wall?
3.5.
No, and compound wall not what is the roadway?
There's nothing,
You get-
only compound walls, both sides.
What about CCTV gas?
We'll get to.
The slide shows that 3.5 meters is not adequate.
Exactly. So this is what I want to talk about from a technical point of view. Why these regulations are so nonsense. Even a 6 meter right of way, which now can allow up to 150 houses on it, 3.5 meters, 2 Swifts. You all know the size of a Swift. 2 Swifts cannot go.
No, that can be challenging.
Yes, these building amendments have to be challenged. We are working.
Huge trucks coming.
We're working on a challenge to this right now. Actually, Swapnesh and I are working on a legal challenge to the building amendment altogether. And this is our strongest argument, that on a road that 2 small hatchback cars cannot move on, you have now arbitrarily, without application of mind, said this is adequate for construction. How can you do this?
I think there were 2,000 objections to this.
Yes, yes. Still, they overruled all of us. They overruled all of us.
There's been no challenge to 223 amendment as of now.
223. No, not yet. So we have filed an RTI yesterday asking for the reasons by which, asking the government to give us the minutes of this committee who heard all the objections and the reasoning they have given for dismissing the objections. We don't have that information yet. Until and unless we know the grounds on which they have rejected our applications, we cannot challenge their rejection of our application. So hopefully within 1 month we'll get that information. Once we have that information, we will start drafting a petition, because we have to, unfortunately, when they change the law, it's very, very, very difficult to get a court to scrap a law. Very difficult. What is a lot more easier is to get the court to point out administrative issues that come with the law. So what we will challenge is not the fact that the amendments are arbitrary. We have a tough case there. What we can challenge is that when the government, the government's so-called expert committee that dismissed our concerns of this, that expert committee has erred in its judgment, and that these concerns are serious concerns. So fine, they've amended the road, they need to go back and tweak the amendment because their committee has messed up. Their committee has not applied their mind or lacks the true expertise to think that this is adequate. Similarly, even an 8-meter right-of-way road can only fit a tempo traveler and an Innova. Like, one bus comes, one private or KTC bus comes, that road is jammed up. And these are major roads. Most roads in Goa are 8-meter right of way, just so you all know. So in most roads in Goa, we have already serious considerations of traffic. Yes.
You said about this traditional pathway. No?
Yes.
Most of the panchayat, if you complain with them, no, they will ask where it is shown on the map.
One thing, all the old cadastral plans have Paivat marked out in dotted line. But those are the 1932 cadastrals. In those, if again, it's a whole case, villagers have to do all the research. If you can find that Paivat, you can challenge it.
Many of them are because most of the people, common people, does not know this idea. No?
Yes.
What if they come up with the panchayat and they go and complain that there is a traditional way? The body say show us in a
Proof. Yeah.
in a design. Oh, sorry.
In plan. Yes.
So how to counter that?
So
People can do thing, no? They go to Panchayat, come for inspection and see that they are using this path to access our houses.
No, but that is there. But they want again they are telling how to put this same to the TCP. They are, the last question is we are not a technical person.
No, but people's representation that they are using this, come and see, this are our houses, they have no other road. That's enough.
I think we could convince the panchayat that clicking photos of the traditional access should be more than that. Any traditional access needs. Yes.
That is there, but they counter it by asking them to put it on a map.
अडाणी लोकांकडून पंच करून द्यायला असेच जातले नो.
मग हे शिकतो कसं नो?
आता पंच कशाला? अदानी लोकांनी PM आणि CM करता. पंचाकडे कशाला?
सीएम डॉक्टर आहे.
आता आणि काय?
नाही, ते आणि PM पण अदानी आहे ना, अदानी ना.
अदानी.
You can get an architect. But this is a good.
Yeah.
Actually, the villages can be marked. A certain amount of this thing should be kept for walking.
Yes. Sidewalks are absolutely necessary, right? Yeah. Now, imagine if there's a person on this road and the 2 Swifts come, or one Innova comes.
But legally also, traditional access has a definition and
Yes.
meaning, you know. That will put you in a problem. That's why the plan will come
The
in. What
question is who is going to bear the tax? Panchayat is not willing to do that. Citizens has to do that. Even if citizens come in front, we are lacking serious. We are having serious lack of number of advocates on our side.
That's the problem.
We cannot be continuously overburdening Goa Foundation and Norma Alvarez. There are so many matters right now prepared going to the court, but we are seriously lacking behind for advocates. Nigel is overloaded. Norma is overloaded. We are going to other advocates. We are trying to test the efficiency and the skill. But then if in the process, if our matters goes down, that is also a problem. That's a risk. So all these things we have to be taking care of. We are having a potential lawyer for future. There.
But I'm telling you, Viraj will get overloaded too because he's taking up so many matters as an activist that let's see if this comes on. Yeah. Is that the whole hill?
Then we have premium advocates who sir. Then we have premium advocates who charges 2 lakhs rupees per PIL.
The other problem is that most advocates in Goa are charging NGOs commercial fees. If you want to go to an advocate who is not a Nigel Costa Frias, you're going to get commercial fees that and the biggest problem to me is that there is so much of money coming from multinational and mainstream builders from the rest of the country and they all use the Goan lawyers. So our Goan lawyers have seen like 5 lakh fees now, 10 lakh fees, and so even if we come with a case, even if they have a heart for Goa, they will bill us those. And I don't know, like fundraising is going to be a big problem going forward for village groups. We can jump in and give you advice from the technical side. We can challenge some of these applications, but I don't know. I didn't want to get down into this.
So that for my case,
Janak Dwarkadas.
his just to visit one visit is 15 lakh fee.
And his visits are online, huh? I saw him argue one of the cases. So, 15 lakh per hearing. And if the case doesn't come up on the board, he still bills them. This is what Janak Dwarkadas, and a lawyer from Margao, from Bombay, who is representing one of the many parties against him, he bills them 15 lakhs per hearing, and he bills the hearing. If the court, many of you all who have gone to court know, on the notice board, you'll sometimes have 20 cases, only 5 actually come up before the judges. Dwarkadas sends them a bill of 15 lakhs. And Praveen's case has come on the board at least 15 times, come up for hearing only once. Those guys have paid him 15 lakhs 15 times. That's how much of money they are putting in. Opposing side is paying just the kind of money the opposing side has. No. Use it.
We are not premium.
No, the logic of giving this example is just to show the kind of money power we are facing. Yeah.
Currently, there is one matter going on Kamulim, Nubatswan. That lawyer Mehta is charging around like 10 lakh rupees per visit, and the matter is going on in court. Now 2 matters have already been done. This is the 3rd matter which is there on Monday now. So we can visit also.
What I'm saying is nobody makes a claim for this. When you succeed with the case,
Yeah.
you can only make a claim on the opposite party, not for all the expenses.
For cost.
The court is supposed to impose cost.
The court, the problem is that they normally say like Amit Sukla, we have by mistake done this and all of that, and the court, I've never seen the court impose costs, and I sit in the High Court many times.
I'll give you one assignment, ma'am. In that 17-2 matter, Goa government is not taking the services of Goa AG. They have hired their separate senior counsel for fighting on behalf of Goa government. Who is paying for it? Who is paying for it? It is not Pratap Singh Rane who is paying for on his behalf of his son, no? Correct. So at least that voice we can raise. One thing. Secondly, when we are talking about lawyers, now on our side we are having advocates like Nigel, Norma Alvarez. At least Norma Alvarez falls in the category of senior counsel. when they get in lawyers like senior counsels like Janak Dwarikadas, he is like Tahir for lawyers. He gives trainings. He gives trainings for upcoming lawyers and all. 2 times he had come to Goa High Court and all the lawyers were lobbying around him as if taking autographs from him. That is the type of advocates they are getting to the court. Just to influence. I don't know how much influence judges will be having on them, but then they are getting this type of lawyers. Just imagine. It is not that easy. We are targeting panchayats and all. I sometimes genuinely feel how much panchayat even can do. It is very easy for us to go to Gram Sabhas and make rukas over there targeting panch and all. But that even if they genuinely stand by your side, how much you collectively can achieve. Till the time we don't become smart, there are no solutions for us. We have to become smarter now. Even mobiles are becoming smarter and we are refusing to become smarter. That doesn't sound good, no?
AG paying him extra fees to take up this case for the Goa government, challenging the 17(2) changes. Okay, I had 3 more examples which I can't show you, but one of them is that an ambulance can't go on a 3.5 meter road. Panchayat can very easily raise that as a concern because health and safety of the well-being. The second one was fire engine cannot go. In fact, if one fire tender has to go on a 6 meter right-of-way road, there is no space for even a scooter. They have to pull on the shoulder sometimes. It's that narrow because a fire tender is itself around 2.5 meters or 2.7 meters wide. So I've just done a few of these.
Something is parked on that road.
Gone. Fire tender can't go. So it's a fire risk. It's a health, like these are serious health and safety risks, because what if Konark has just stopped and is standing there for some time and there's a fire tender can't go. So I feel like challenging this amendment, we have very strong grounds. We just need to get the data before we can go. Yes. They can hit and run, but
We'll send a second ambulance to pick you up, but then this is emergency.
So now let's get to Carlos's question, which he's asked 2 times. There used to be a clause called 16A in the old Goa regulations. That clause said that road availability must be verified on site. These are the exact wording of that clause. Kalangut United Sports and Cultural Association went to the High Court in 2011 saying that TCP is not verifying the road availability on site, and as a result we cannot they are issuing permission without it. The High Court in its order, very amazing order, said yes, you've used the word available on site. That means that TCP needs to do an inspection and actually verify the width of the road on site to be 6 meters before giving any permissions. In response to this High Court order, the TCP issued an internal circular saying that the road width has to be the carriageway has to be 6 meters before granting any permission. From 2011 to 2023, we had this amazing ground, and there have been many success stories. Glenn is one of them, who have used this to stop construction as and where it's not done. Of course, our government is not, unfortunately, the politicians in the government are not sitting quietly. Amongst these 2023 building amendments, amendment number 13 says the words, the entire sentence, which includes the words available on site, stand deleted. Because of this, now the TCP circular is, we call it moot, because the TCP circular was based on a High Court order which was based on interpreting these words. If these words are deleted from the law, then the TCP circular doesn't apply anymore. Yeah, which means that, and the TCP department are very happy about this because it's less work for them, no? Why should they go to Asagaon, go to Sioli, go to all these places and actually verify? They can sit in Panjim and issue permissions on the basis of what is now in the plan once again. So another thing that we need to do is probably now move but again, problem is lawyers. Move a contempt case on the TCP saying that we have this Kalangut United case where the court has very clearly said that having certain access to sites is very important to ensure no unnecessary traffic congestion for the village. If I'm not mistaken, those are the exact words in Kalangut United case. So we need to go to court and file a contempt petition saying that the deletion of the words available on site have been maliciously done so that the government can overrule this 2011 judgment of the court. But it's a bit of a stretch, it's a bit of a long shot, and I don't know if it can, but I just want to highlight how every time we find some sort of a leverage to challenge them, these guys go and change the law. They move the goalposts. We've got a good striker who can score, they'll just move the goalpost and make the goal smaller. This is what we are fighting with. We're really in a tough situation. I don't want to depress anyone, but I just want to give like the ground reality of what is going on in this case.
I just want to raise this whole issue is not just at our level. Remember, the election commission was reconstituted by a new amendment by the same process.
Yeah.
They had to have the chief justice in there. They made an amendment saying no chief justice, we will appoint our own man. And there was, you couldn't challenge it. The Supreme Court said we cannot accept it.
Because
on those
yeah.
grounds, I'm just saying what sort of a challenge we are
because
looking at.
we have the doctrine of separation of powers, right? We have these three bodies. We have our legislature, which is our MLAs. We have our executive, which is our panchayats and our bureaucrats, and we have our judiciary. The three should, the judiciary can question the executive. The judiciary, unless it's a constitutional matter, the judiciary cannot question the legislature. So this gives us a lot of problems. One of the things...
it doesn't make sense really to ignore that.
Yeah. It's been very deliberately done so that, and the planners are honestly very happy about this because it's less work for them now to go on site. But it's a clear case of trying to subvert the requirements. Yes. And to allow this type of construction to come up, where earlier it would have been very difficult for this type of construction to come up in the first place. So it's an uphill battle because the goalposts keep changing. One clause that we still have, and as these farmhouses get more and more blatant, is that till now within the farmhouse regulations in the same GLDBCR, I don't know when they'll amend that, farmhouse needs to have a road access, which is why in both Praveen's case and this is Glenn's case over here, there was no road and TCP issued farmhouse permission. And you know what they did for Glenn? They came in the middle of the night with the JCB and they started to construct a Kacha road. Early morning. Glenn came, got the police, took the keys of the JCB and filed a complaint immediately. Luckily, this JCB had to go through church property, and that church was Mount Mary, which was a protected state heritage site. So he was able to get the archaeology department on his side to also file a trespass case, or at least a complaint of trespass, that he has trespassed, he has done some digging work in our land, and through it the archaeology department, Panchayat came, they invited TCP to re-inspection, TCP didn't come, right? Panchayat, yeah. So then archaeology called an inspection wherein TCP was called. When TCP was called, Glenn showed him and said like, show us the plans. TCP planner Ashok Kumar Fatiswadi, he had brought the plans, he showed. In these people, and this is where we get to the scams that they're doing. These guys had shown, let's assume this is the property, okay, completely landlocked. This is the road going to a church. When you submit your blueprints, you have to submit what's called a site plan, which shows your location and what is around you. in this guy's site plan, he has shown and the sheer incompetence of our TCP. If you look in the regional plan, this does not exist, but they don't even check that. So in Glenn's complaint, we filed a complaint against the TCP planner for fraud, whilst also in a different name filing a complaint against the person for misrepresentation of facts. And luckily the Panchayat Archaeology Department supported him in this case. But within this, another condition in the technical clearance is that if any facts are found to be misleading, misrepresented, the permission shall be, the clearance shall be revoked. Another thing that I want to start doing, just in terms of how we talk also, is stop calling the TCP document a permission, because it's not a permission. It is an NOC. It's a technical clearance. The NOC, the word they use is clearance, shall be revoked. Shall be revoked. But this also very much, unfortunately, depends on who the town planner is in that particular area. You all should go. We moved one for the farmhouse in Old Goa. Glenn filed a vigilance case on him, and then he showed up. He's already got several cases on him because he had upset a very powerful MLA back when he was in charge of Vasco, Morvin. And Morvin filed a vigilance case on him. And so since then, like, he's become a little bit more, at least if you, so, but filing vigilance case on Zaidev Aldonkar also doesn't, that man has skin thicker than a buffalo. Yeah, I don't know what to do with, so it really depends on who the planner is, and can you force them to do their job or can you not? And
Sting him.
Yes.
Make it public.
Who is
his MLA?
he stays in Donapal, this MLA. Oh, Jaidev's MLA, I don't know. Who is? What to say then? Yeah, if position is with this guy, but yeah. So you have the problem is also you have TCP staff of varied fear. I wouldn't even say honesty, varied fear levels. Some of them can be pressured, others just don't bow to any pressure. How about we make a let's make a blacklist of all of the engineers and architects, citizens blacklist of all of these guys, starting with Paresh. Paresh is the biggest one, but there are many, and the one
Human as well as their professional bodies.
Council of Architecture.
Yeah.
is yeah.
That's not the only thing actually.
Something has to be done.
Paresh, this is not the only thing actually. Paresh has done frauds also. He is doing frauds also. If you want to approve our projects also, they have approved our project in Tarun Telani Meta. The fraud was been done by Paresh, the right on itself. He has moved the lines of CRZ, the settlement line was been also moved. He is giving the permission.
I mean,
About it.
the frauds, even in Old Goa, you all may know Old Goa bungalow matter. The architect at that time, he's from Panjim, Siddha Sardesai. He has moved the line of the heritage site and shown this project to be 115 meters outside it, when it actually falls within the ASI protected area. So the architects are very much to blame. I completely agree. Architect, engineer, whoever.
All this falls under
Yeah.
misrepresentation, no?
Correct. Correct. But the problem is the misrepresentation case still goes to town planner. Yes.
Because intent of fraud.
Yeah.
So I don't know if but two things that we've seen very often happen, and what I put down here, which we've already discussed as we've gone through this, is non-existent roads. Like,
Just for record purpose, I am also an engineer.
and I am an architect.
Don't single out Tajir.
But the two of us have decided we are not taking any more consulting projects, and Dhiren's also a civil engineer. So three of us. Carlos is also. So we are five of us over here who, like, our professions are very much to blame in this whole thing. Yeah.
There is a difference. It is where you use your knowledge.
Viraj.
There is a difference. No, where you use your knowledge, that makes
Yeah.
a difference. No?
Yeah.
They are using it for doing all those stuff. We are using it for different things.
They are following doctors. They are going in the footsteps of doctors, no?
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So non-existent roads, fake road widths, and then even more blatant things like privatization of roads. But now that we know that this variety of nonsense is happening, I have three ways forward. So privatization of roads is Gaurav's example, where now what's happening, especially in, or what seems to be happening in Talegaon type areas, is that if a road is passing straight through one colony, colony members have blocked the road off and are using it as a private access for their colony. And as a result, denying that public amenity to the broader public. I mean, there have been also cases of them doing this for beach access in some places. Yes, Mahesh?
What is a road? Road has to be a tarred road or a cemented road, or it can be of interlock pavements. Kacha.
Better question would be what is right of way?
What is right of way? So, as per the, if I'm not mistaken,
Can the carriageway be of
the
interlock
carriageway
pavements?
should be of, they use the word rain-proof material, if I'm not mistaken, in the regulations for the carriageway, which means that interlocking pavers would be seen, I would think, as a rain-proof material. But the carriageway cannot be a kacha road of just mud, I think. I'm not 100% sure. For farmhouse, they've not specified the farm. They specify kacha road.
All
It's
6 meters.
depend upon the project.
Yeah. And what I do know in the farm, like, there's a separate. So these regulations are very confusing because they were drafted by the Indian Institute of Architects, who don't have proper town planning knowledge, and so they picked up. They looked at the Maharashtra regulations. They looked at the Bangalore master plan and what development regulations were in there. They looked at the Delhi bylaws, and they pulled stuff from all those places and stuck them together into so there are separate road regulations for projects, and there's a completely distinct clause of road requirement for farmhouse in a different part of that same regulations. And that's how you have this discrepancy, that for general projects in settlement zone, you need to have a rainproof covering of the carriageway, and then for a farmhouse, which actually happens in the no development agriculture zones now, you just need a kacha road.
Then explain that. What is the right of way?
Yeah. So when you're talking about a right of way, it is the road, carriageway, plus the gutter, plus the sidewalk. All of these things together give you your right of way. As far as the Goa Land Development and Building Construction Regulation is concerned, when they use the word road width, thanks to that note in Appendix 10, we know now that road width equals to right of way. Even though they should have defined this in chapter 2 of the act, they've not. They've put this little note in the appendix.
So road width is not carriageway.
Road width is right of way, and that's why, including footpath, that's why we have this table in table 10 in the appendix, which tells us that this is the only place where we kind of understand.
There is a sketch in the last pages of the regulation.
Okay. But it's also very shady how they've done this, because normally chapter 2 has all the definitions. Chapter 2 does not have the definition of what road width is. Complete mess.
But I heard that the latest ones were done by CREDAI.
Yes. CREDA is the Confederation of Real Estate Developers of India. They provided most of the, even I heard that the draft, all these 2023 amendments, draft of these amendments was given to the town planning minister from CREDAI.
Just one clarification I think you made earlier. What you are saying is that as long as the carriageway exists of 3.5 or more,
Yes.
they can say that the rest of the 2.5
is planned in the future.
It doesn't have to exist
So
now.
if you have a compound wall here and this is private property,
No,
and
private
you have a
property
compound
also
wall here and this is private property, the government can at best demand a report from PWD, will quickly make a sketch like this and they'll say proposed gutter and sidewalk, proposed gutter and sidewalk, and so long as this exists, unfortunately, in my opinion, they have legal grounds to claim it is a 6-meter road, so long as this carriageway is 3.5. They
not
have
been
the
tested yet.
grounds.
That is after that thing was shut down, that available. on
Yes,
site.
after available on site. Before this had to be 6 meters, but even if it was 6 meters, yes, right of way of the road, compound wall, services, cables. Yes.
This is the sketch, it is there in the regulation.
It's what?
Our argument was what we were telling them, if it is proposed, no, you approve the project once it is there at the place.
Yes.
It should be
It's
existing, not being
yeah.
proposed.
Exactly.
Yeah, once you do that, and then you get the,
Let it be there at the
I
place.
think that's only
That's
one.
logical.
And many people now who are having compound walls and all, who are actually obstructing this entire 6 meters of width of the road, are not coming out. So
Yeah.
to them, no, once the project is there, we file a petition saying that now make at least 6 meters road, let the land goes on, let the compound wall goes on.
Some of this nuisance value is needed, I think,
We were
like,
trying
yeah.
to do this in Ibim matter. It is admitted and kept there, but then the problem was it was right in front of the highway. And if we take that plea, no, the backside of the property gets open for development.
Got
That is the
it.
reason we didn't take
Press
this
it too
step.
hard.
Yeah. Otherwise, that entire backside of the entire wall would have been open up for development. And since the very first project we challenged in the court, no more projects are coming there.
This one quick question, has the 3.5 and proposed been checked in court, tested in court?
The Kalangud matter was tested, no, they were supposed to go outside and actually verify the road, availability of the road. What TCP is not doing is that they are not actually verifying for entire specification of the road. They are limiting
only
the
verifying
inspection
the
to
carriageway.
Carpet width of the road which is 3.5 meters. I am having a similar case in Marmugua. The project belongs to Kamla Prasad Yadav. There is hardly a road there. Hardly a road there. In spite of that, they granted them the permission for doing a C1 type of a construction there.
C1 is G+7.
Yeah, went to High Court, got a direction instructing PDA to have a site inspection. They did a site inspection. Now the building is ready, but then they can't get the occupancy certificate for past almost a year now. It is stuck there. So you can also do that. What TCP is saying, they're saying that if we stick to the exact specification of the road, no project can be approved in Goa, and that is exactly what we want. No.
The same
Because
statement
none
Ashok
of
Kumar
our
told.
roads are qualifying to the exact specification of the road.
Important access to the, so in your case, they didn't say we will have proposed extra.
Initially
they
they went
said-
with that step, but when I went to the court, when we went to the court, they said you come up with a report. And they, after the matter has been under the observation of the High Court, they cannot be fooling around, no.
That's what I was asking. So they couldn't, they were caught.
Not caught as such, but it is they are stuck.
Swapnesh's plea in the court was very simple. It was, okay, you've given the permission on the basis of 3.5, don't let construction begin until the entire 6 meters is developed. And of course, the town planners said no need for that, it's impossible, no construction will happen in Goa if that's the case. Swapnesh went to court trying to seek the court to force the town planners to implement the entire 6-meter road, take people's private property, which the government never wants to do. They're always very scared of that because that will turn the village against them. Right? If the government has to use Land Acquisition Act and take even 2 meters or 1 meter of your house for road widening, then you see how the village comes out. I've seen in Neora they tried to do that, and 400 people lived there. 400 people didn't vote in the panchayat elections from our ward. 400 people came out to protest when they didn't even. A rumor went around on WhatsApp that they're considering to use the Land Acquisition Act and take 1 meter from all of our front yards.
So in this case, Swapnil's case was held up by the court.
It's still in the court. We've
Yeah,
not
but
got an
they haven't
order.
been-
We've not got an order. Not got an order. No.
But no, as
The
occupancy.
TCP has been. I think they've fallen in line a bit after that case.
Light दिला ना देखा.
No, no, no. This is the road.
My God.
The measurements what they were taking from the wall of a temple. I said, hold your time. I want to think about that.
And you're going to
I-
break down a temple, huh?
That is
Expand
what
a
my argument would be. No, I can put up an argument now also in political manner.
Sapnesh, current status stays
What
there.
if there is no access to the project
Fine, high court.
and it's going to a private land, which is only the Komidar and the builder and the panchayat and all, and Kozhikode.
Kamala Prasad Yadav. She can support
Tough.
a member
How do we know
of
whether this is a road?
FTPDA.
Under the Communidad Act, the Communidad can. The Communidad is very restricted on what type of land it can give away. Okay, in most cases the Communidad can only lease land out, except for public utility. Unfortunately, roads are the prime case of public utility. So Communidads, even if the government requests the Communidad to give land for a road, it's very difficult for the Communidad body to also say no, because roads are like the most textbook example of what is a public utility is road.
What I'm saying is, the Komidar is patronizing these builders
Yes.
by
By allowing
roads which are, 10
own-
meters. They
yeah.
need, 10 meters.
Correct.
Because the project needs 10 meters, they're taking a lot of that Komidar land, tarring it, the panchayat is tarring it, and showing that they have access of 10 meters.
You want to and so yeah, this was all I had for my presentation, but we can do more question and answers now. Yeah.
In Kamala matter, no, there is an order. In one of our matter at Shirsai, constructed a road, means a kacha road for mining actually, minor minerals. We filed a complaint against Kamala filed internal complaint against the project promoter.
facts. The carriageway is not even 3.5 meters.
Basically, Komidar is basically what you see
Wait, I just want to quickly wrap up. So before we take on more individual cases,
In our case, they are involved. In our case, the project came up because of the NOC of Comunidad. The NOC was given way back in 2008 saying that we have got no
objection to yeah
3 meters, 12.5 meters. And this NOC was used for all the permissions.
permissions.
That means the road is 3 meters. So we asked Comunidad, the president of Comunidad, whether an attorney has got any power
To issue such.
NOC. After filing appeal, I got a proper reply that in the code of Comunidad, there is no such provision which gives authority to
Attorney.
attorney.
But what if the entire body?
They are not,
Luckily, you were lucky.
but again, why you are giving the road to a private property?
Yes, and you can argue that like if the road is only servicing a private property, it's not public utility, because the word used is public utility.
what the regional plan shows, there is a proposed road for that.
Tough. Then the proposed road is there. Communidad body is also saying build it.
But it's a proposed, it's not existing.
Still,
Can the project
still,
come up?
because of this 2023 amendment, yes,
So that is seen by the court or in that side. It's
needs to be challenged. Like we need to go back, right? Because they deleted the words available at site in 2023. These words were removed from the law.
soon we will need special environment codes.
The permission were given prior to 2023.
Yes, can be challenged. Yes. If the permissions.
Gradient is not an issue.
Hmm?
Now many of the projects are coming on the hills.
Yes.
In forest land.
Yes, there is a gradient issue. So, no road in Goa can be more than 1:8 slope, except in special cases when cleared by the chief town planner. What does a 1:8 slope mean? For every 8 meters of run, you can climb only 1 meter. Now, again, this is a big problem for us. You need to hire a land survey to get you the slope, right? Land surveyors also charge us so much money to do this work. Even me as an architect, I can't give you the gradient. And then there is another provision inserted again. The chief town planner can now give a special relaxation to 6:1 on a case-to-case basis. Case-to-case basis. Chief town planner.
How to verify the gradient?
Surveyor, and we have to get a surveyor and prove the facts on the ground.
In which location? Because the slope also varies.
Doesn't matter. The maximum, as per the law, the maximum gradient of a road can be 8/1. We need contours, no? Those are. So my closing comments are: try to get the panchayat to block projects and reject them, not hold them. File complaints to TCP for misrepresentation of facts, like Gaurav said. Call out the officers and pressurize them. And then in the worst case, we have to take all these cases to court on merits. And unfortunately, on merits means case-to-case basis once again. But these are the 3 long-term solutions I had. Thank you everyone for attending.